Call the meeting order, and we do have a quorum with all board members present. Welcome everybody. We will open the meeting with a moment of silence that you can observe as you feel appropriate. Thank you. Now if you'd stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm just going to stay standing because we do have one recognition here, an award. I don't think anybody from HEB showed up, so I'm going to do the honors myself. Jill?
I love big checks. Like big checks, not like big checks.
We attended the opening of the new HEB store today, and much to my surprise, they almost called out my name. They got it pretty close, but it's close enough when they wanted to hand me a check, so I said, yes, that's me.
I'll take it. Thankfully he was there.
Anyway, they looked around the community at all the things going on here and had a committee taking a look to see what was some of the most worthy causes in our county and in our community, and guess what that happened to be?
Common threads. Awesome.
So they surprised us with a $5,000 check, so I'll now present this $5,000 check to Common Threads.
Thank you. We are grateful to HEB for sure, because they're going to be great supporters in this community, and you're going to love the grocery store.
That's exciting.
We actually have one other recognition, Mr. President. If you couldn't tell from all of the decorations, January is School Board Recognition Month. And it's my pleasure to be up here with these board members. They represent 7 of the more than 7,000 school board members across the state of Texas. They're also the ones who do the necessary and important work for our schools, oftentimes with little fanfare or recognition. Well, tonight I'd like to publicly recognize the valued efforts of James Steenbergen, Catherine Kaminsky, Kay Danziger, Mandy Brunzell, Dr. Tyson Harrell, Joe Hubenek, and Melissa Roberts. We're making a special effort this month to show our appreciation to the board, but we need to remember that its commitment is year-round. These trustees continually give of themselves and their time. They also aren't afraid to take a stand, ask the tough questions, or make the right decisions, even if those choices are at times unpopular. I'd also like to note that the board is responsible for approving an annual budget around $333 million, while overseeing the education of more than 32,000 students and the livelihood of more than 4,500 employees. This is no small task, and I personally applaud its service to our community, and I know you do too. So please join me in thanking our school board members for caring about our students and for caring about the future of Lamar CISD. You also had an opportunity to see all of the campuses and their support. They were up here early today, making sure that they got the posters up as well as the gifts that they gave to the board.
Yes, I mean, thank you so much. I wandered in here again, forgot it's January and what it was, and I saw this. I said, man, what a deal. I see our friend from HEB showed up. We just did this. We just did the check award, but we're going to do it again.
Another photo shoot.
We talked about what a great surprise this was, and given the great partnership we have with HEB, and we really appreciate everything you do for our community and for us.
It's our pleasure. We're very happy to be a part of Richmond.
Bob. So what is your name?
Bob Vega.
Bob Vega. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you a lot.
Further from
That's exciting.
All right, do we have any introductions tonight?
We do not, Mr. President.
How about audience to patrons?
There are none, Mr. President.
Thank you. We'll move to the approval of minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes of December 12, 2017, the special meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of our December 12th, 2017 special meeting workshop.
Do I have a second to that? Ms. Kaminsky, any questions, comments on that? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? There are none. Thank you. Need a motion to approve the minutes of December 19th, 2017 special meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the December 19th, 2017 special meeting workshop.
Do I have a second? Mandy? Any questions, discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Thank you. Need a motion to approve the minutes of December 21st, 2017 regular board meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve December 21st board meeting.
Thank you. Second to that? Carol? Any discussion or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Any board member reports? I know we have at least one.
Yes. We had a meeting of the Finance Committee this afternoon, and the auditor went over the information in the audit and said that we were given a clean opinion, and they'll be giving us all a presentation tonight on that.
Thank you. I know we've had meetings and events. I know you've been to 42 plays.
I can't find my other playbill. Yes, I attended every one of the musicals that were available from Saturday to Monday, 2 on Saturday, and every one of those shows were better than the next. The talent in this district, the commitment that these students and teachers and parents, because they had to go on Thursday when they were out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so it was not easy, but every one of those directors said that their students stepped up, they were very professional, they came and they performed, and boy did they perform. So congratulations to Fulshear High School on Wizard of Oz. They had a cast of thousands. I don't know, I think he used the junior high and the high school. And to Foster High School on Evita, the little girl that played that Eva, she must have sung from her toes. She was 5 foot nothing, can't weigh more than 100 pounds. And of course, from Lamar and Terry doing Annie. But I was very pleased and excited and had fun. So congratulations to all those
Thank you.
schools.
Any other? All right, thank you. Dr. Randall?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The Texas Education Agency has nominated Jackson Elementary as a 2018 Blue Ribbon School. 26 public schools were nominated for recognition. Jackson was identified for exemplary progress made toward closing achievement gaps among subpopulations while maintaining high achievement levels among all students. Jackson becomes the 4th Lamar CISD school nominated by TEA for this honor. So we're really excited for the work that they've done. We also had a record 15 advancing high school pieces at Rodeo Art. The most any district has had is 13, but the judges indicated that they were challenged to pick 15 this year. They wanted to add even more than that, but the district public show is Saturday, February 17th. So kids did an awesome job.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Randall. At this point in time, we'll open a public hearing on the LCISD Accountability Performance Report for 2016-2017.
Good evening, Mr. President, honored members of the board, Dr. Randall, and honored members of the public. This evening's presentation is over the Texas Academic Performance Report, or TAPR, that's usually published at during the month of December. Due to changes in legislation, this used to be called the AEIS report, which was around from 1990 through 2012. AEIS reports for comparison are still available on the TEA website in the archive area. The TAPR report breaks down student performance, demographics, information about staffing patterns, and a link to the budget report that was presented, I believe, last month. Some new items for 2017 include disaggregation of data by performance level descriptors, approaches grade level, which is passing, meets grade level, which used to be the post-secondary readiness, and the master's grade level, which is what we used to call commended in the tax days. They've included 2016 STAR data disaggregated by those three labels, and they've also included participation rates from 2016 and 2017. The report can be accessed either from the TEA website or from the LCISD website on the Research and Accountability homepage, or can be accessed by any of the campus front offices. Within the TAPR report, performance is disaggregated by grade level, subject, and student group. It's disaggregated for all grade levels, all EOC subject areas, and as I mentioned earlier, it's disaggregated by the three different performance levels that we now have in Texas. Also included with the report are participation rates, attendance rates, dropout information, graduation rates, college readiness indicators such as advanced and dual course enrollment, and our college testing information, including advanced placement, SAT, and ACT results. Student information that's included would be demographics, graduates information, retention rates, class size, staff information by demographics, experience, degrees, salary information, and turnover rates, information about program enrollment, teachers that are dedicated to those programs, and there's a link to the budget reports. As an overview, as we've discussed before, LCISD is an accredited Met Standard district. We received a total of 76 campus distinction designations this year. Hubenack and Taylor Ray were among the 5% to receive all designations they were eligible for. Austin, Dickinson, Campbell, and Frost were among the 15% that received all but one designation. Terry High School received its first designation this year, and as Dr. Randall mentioned earlier, Jackson Elementary was nominated for the Blue Ribbon School List. All campuses in LCISD earned a Met Standard rating, which is currently the highest rating allowed in the accountability system. When we look at the amount of students at approaches grade level, we have remained above the state and regional averages by a range of between 3 and 8 points for each subject area. When we look at the higher end of the spectrum, when we look at those at master's grade level, we've remained between 3 and 9 points compared to the state and regional test scores. So our students are doing very well at both the passing standard and at the most advanced standard. Our 5-year graduation rates are between 6 and 7 points above the region and the state. And our students meeting college readiness criteria are between 9 and 11 points above state and regional totals. Looking at the history of demographics, within the last 5 years, we've added about 4,700 students. We have maintained our diversity as a district, and also just a couple of other things to point out. We have actually declined about 10% in the number of economically disadvantaged students, and we have increased our total graduates by 20%. When we look at our program enrollment, we are the amount of students that need bilingual or ESL services is below the state average, but the students participating in career and technical ed, gifted and talented education, special education, are very comparable to the state averages. As part of this report, we also have to report serious disciplinary incidents, which are violent or criminal incidents that occur at the campuses in the district. A detailed copy of this report can be found on the LCISD Research and Accountability webpage. One of the metrics we use for this indicator is the amount of incidents per 1,000 students. And what's notable about this is that since 2014-2015, not only have we seen the number of incidents fall, but we've also seen the number per 1,000 fall and maintain the last 2 years at a level that was much further below where it was in 14-15, which means our kids are doing better as far as behavior, and we have less issues on our campuses. With the Texas Higher Ed Coordinating Board, by statute, we're also required to publish information on how our students do the first semester after graduating if they go to a Texas public institution, either a 2 or a 4-year college or university. And we're required to disaggregate that by GPA bands from those students that are making less than a 2.0 up to those students that are making 3.5 or better. And so when we look at the chart on this slide, I have to caution that where we have the students that are in the not trackable or not found, that this only reports students that are in the Texas public system of higher ed. It has a real hard time tracking students that go into private institutions or may join the military or other areas. But what's impressive about this data is that when we look at the bands of grade point averages and we look at the amount of students below 2.0 or the amount of students at 3.0 or better, we have less students that are LCISD graduates that are doing on the bad side, and we have more students that are doing on the good side. So we have less students that are at the D level, and we have a lot more students that go to college and earn B's or A's. Any assistance with this report can contact the Research Assessment and Accountability Office, or it can be referred to at the LCISD Research and Accountability webpage.
Thank you.
And that's our presentation.
Any questions, comments on the board?
I have one question.
Yes.
Why is it a 5-year graduation statistic?
We use the 5-year graduation statistic because we include students that had to return due to not passing, usually due to not passing the STAR test or not getting all of their credits.
That doesn't include, does that include night school and then the summer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Since this is a public hearing, do we have any comments from our public? If there are no more questions or comments, we'll close that at 7:18. At this point in time, we'll establish and approve our consent agenda. Consent agenda items A1. We need to pull A2 because we have a presentation. A3, A4, A5, A6, A7, A8, A9, A10, A11, A12.
Can we pull that one, please?
All right. All right, for our consent agenda items, we have A1, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7, A8, A9, A10, and A11. Could I have a motion to approve our consent agenda item?
I'll make a motion to approve our consent agenda.
Do I have a second to that?
Second it.
Ms. Kaminsky, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, there are none. Thank you. We'll have a presentation on item number 2, the approval of the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District Comprehensive Annual Finance Report, 2016-2017 year.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Randall. My name is Christopher Breaux. I have served this year as your engagement partner on the annual financial audit of the district's comprehensive annual financial report, and I'm going to report on that. You should have had in your packet a copy, PDF, or in person of 2 reports. One is the comprehensive annual financial report, and the second one is the federal single audit report. I'm going to summarize these in this presentation here. Please feel free to ask questions at any time. As I noted, I am your engagement partner. Tom Peterson was our concurring partner this year, with Dan Hernandez being the senior manager and Val Talmez as our senior on the engagement. Our audit approach is a team-based approach. Everyone's involved from the top to the bottom, working with your folks. One thing that we do is a risk-based approach to the audit, and so we assess the risk of what's happening in your audit, your activities that your staff are engaged in, financial matters, and we try to hit the things where we think there might be issues. We believe in frequent formal and informal communications at all levels. If we move to page 1 of the report, we have the auditor's opinion. The financial statements are your responsibility, the responsibility of the district and the staff. It's our responsibility to audit the financial statements. To be clear, we are your independent auditors. We are hired by you, the board, to conduct this audit. We have issued an unmodified or clean opinion on the financial statements, which is the highest level of assurance we can give, and that we say that the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. Our audit was conducted in accordance with governmental auditing standards due to the TEA requirements and the federal funds that you receive. A condensed statement of net position for the as of August 31, 2016 and 17 is presented here. Total assets increased from $876 million to $972 million. The bulk of that is going to be capital assets. That's going to be your building, your property and plant, net of depreciation. Total liabilities increased from $888 million to $954 million. The bulk of that's going to be your long-term debt. And your net position went from $15 million to $1.8 million, with the biggest change happening in the unrestricted net position. We take a look at your cash and investments for the entire district. You had general fund cash and investments of $83 million, your debt service fund $9 million, capital projects, where the bulk of your cash is right now for pending projects, is $180 million, and then non-major funds, which includes your special revenue funds, your internal service funds, your health insurance fund, and your agency funds, had another $9.7 million, for a total of $283 million in cash. As you can see by this slide, most of your cash investments, 276 of that amount, is invested in investment pools. So it's not sitting in the bank. We have $7 million sitting in the bank, but the rest is in investment pools. Let's take a look at the other side of the ledger. In your general obligation bonds, you began the year with $720 million in general obligation bonds. You retired $21 million, and you issued another $93 million for new construction, leaving you an ending balance of your general obligation bonds of $791 million. The bonded debt as a percentage of assessed value is 5.6, actually it's $5.58 million, 5.58%. Your assessed value is $14 billion. That 5.6% is the same as it was last year. So your debt went up, but your values went up as well. This chart here shows some trend data for debt ratios over the past 10 years. The blue line is debt per student, and we can see that that ended up a little north of $25,000 per student, up a little bit from last year. Your debt to value, which is a green line and rated on the right side of the table, is again at 5.6%, and that stayed even for the year. You can see the bumps in your ratios, and that bump is going to be basically when you issue debt, you build buildings, more student comes, and that number is going to sort of zigzag over time. Your debt service through maturity for all your bonds through 2049 looks like this. Stair-step approach. This is done by principal as well as interest over the lifetime of the bonds. Statement of activities is much like the statement of net position, not fund-based, but it's accrual-based accounting. It has everything you own versus everything you owe. Your total revenues increased by about $10 million from $323 million to $333 million. If I get the pointer right here, you can see that your property taxes increased about $20 million, and you have the state aid is basically what this is right here, dropped by about $12 million. So you can see that inverse relationship that folks are always talking about, the school funding. You get property taxes in, your state funding drops. Total expenses were up about $10 million, and you had a decrease in net position of about $13 million. In that $13 million is about $50 million of depreciation. Your general fund balance for the year was at, now we're getting into the modified accrual, sort of cash basis, budgetary basis of $78 million of total fund balance. $1.5 million of that was non-expendable. That's going to be essentially inventory, supply inventory, and prepaid expenses. You have committed fund balance of $2 million and assigned fund balance of $4.5 million. So your beginning and ending unassigned fund balance remained at about $70 million. Your unassigned fund balance, which is basically money that is set aside, sort of the working capital that you deal with, is above 25% of annual expenditures for the prior year. And you can see your trends here. You were higher in 2014-15, but you're still at a healthy balance. Now we get some required communications. We talked about our responsibility under generally accepted auditing standards earlier, about our responsibility to audit the financial statements. Your significant accounting policies, your policies are consistent with industry standards. You're not accounting for anything in any unusual way as you go through. Accounting estimates, you have estimates that go into your financial statements. I've listed a few of them here. Your allowance for collectible for taxes receivable, estimated lives of capital assets, incurred but not reported employee benefit claims, and one else that could add on there is estimates as it relates to your pension from the state that are on your financial statements. We believe that there is, management has reasonable basis for the significant judgments and estimates that impact the financial statements. So there are estimates, and the staff have a pretty good idea they have a great idea of what's going into those financials, and they make sense, those estimates. We noted in this federal single audit report, which you'll see in their schedule of federal awards, you'll see what you spent on programs, special ed, Title I, food service, and the like. We noted no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in your internal controls. We noted no material non-compliance with laws and regulations that would have a significant impact on the district's financial statements. And there were no significant audit differences or adjustments. We had no disagreements with management in regards to accounting and financial matters, and that is anything we talked about, we agreed the way they were presenting that. We have a requirement to communicate with you if we believe that staff has consulted with other auditors for opinion shopping, if they're checking with someone else and seeing if if they should do something, if they're shopping for opinion, see if they want to present something. We're unaware of any of that happening. And following in with that, prior to retention, before you hire us as a board, we do talk with staff quite a bit during the year, talking about what's going on in the financial world. We don't believe anything that we've talked to them is a reason for them hiring us. We haven't told them we'll treat something one way or another, hire us. Just to let you know that that's there. We did not encounter any difficulties in performing the audit. Our significant written communications are the engagement letter, which you approve each year, which lays out the groundwork for the audit, and the management representation letter, which management describes, accepts responsibility for the financial statements and confirms the things. They make representations to us about the contents of the financials, and they say they've shown us everything. And we do confirm that we are independent accountants with respect to Lamar Consolidated Independent School District. So with that presentation, I know that was a lot, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
No questions, board members. I'll entertain a motion to approve the LCISD Comprehensive Annual Finance Report for the 2016-2017 year.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Danziger? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? There are none. Thank you. Before I get past it, would you mind reading get your drink of water, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
And read our proclamations.
We have, I think, 3 starting.
Yes.
All right.
Mr. President, before we get started on that, I did want to compliment the staff on the work that they've done over the past year in preparation for the audit. They always are very meticulous, and they did a really good job.
Yes, thank you, and I was derelict in my duty not doing that, so thank you.
We know how that couldn't have been easy. Okay, first resolution. Whereas Black History Month is celebrated throughout the United States during the month of February. Whereas Black History Month recognizes the rich heritage and significant contributions to our lives by African Americans. And whereas schools are in a unique position to share an appreciation of the heritage and accomplishments of African Americans among children from all races and backgrounds. And whereas Lamar CISD schools commemorate Black History Month with special activities and observances, now therefore be it resolved that the trustees of Lamar Consolidated Independent School District declare February 2018 as Black History Month in Lamar Consolidated Independent School District, and encourage members of our community to share in this celebration of American heritage, adopted this 23rd day of January 2018. Next, we have, whereas the Association for Career and Technical Education has designated February 1st through the 28th, 2018 as Career Technical Education Month, and whereas profound economic and technological changes in our society are reflected in the structure and nature of work, placing new and additional responsibilities on our educational system, whereas career and technical education provides a career connection and is the backbone of a strong, well-educated workforce which fosters productivity in business and industry and contributes to America's leadership in the international marketplace, whereas career and technical education gives high school students experience in practical, meaningful application of skills such as reading, writing, and mathematics, improving the quality of their education, motivating potential dropouts, and giving all students leadership opportunities, and whereas the ever-increasing cooperative efforts of career and technical educators, business, and industry stimulate the growth and vitality of our local economy and that of the entire nation by preparing graduates for careers that are expected to experience the largest and fastest growth in the next decade. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Lamar Consolidated Independent School District declare February 1st to the 28th, 2018 as Career Technical Education Month, and urge all citizens to become familiar with the services and benefits offered by career and technical education programs and to support these programs to enhance work skills and productivity, adopted this 23rd day of January 2018. And finally, but definitely and very important, whereas school counselors help students in public schools reach their full potential, and whereas school counselors are committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, and interests and talents as these traits relate to career awareness and development, and whereas school counselors help parents focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children, and whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves, and whereas school counselors identify and utilize community resources that enhance and supplement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of society. Now therefore be it resolved that the trustees of Lamar Consolidated Independent School District recognize the importance of school counseling programs, which are an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in school, and declare the week of February 5th through the 9th, 2018 as School Counselor Week in the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District, adopted this 23rd day of January 2018.
Thank you for reading those resolutions.
I know. But all very important.
We go to action item A12. Got to have a motion to approve the base cost increase for refurbishing moving van semi-trailers.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second to that?
I'll second.
All right, discussion?
I have a question. I think at the last meeting I asked for the cost of the rentals of the tractors that would pull these. Did we get an approximate amount of what it was going to cost to rent these?
The tractors, a typical rental that we would need for, say, a football trip, we would pick the tractor up on Thursday to have it ready for loading on Friday and then return it on Saturday. If you look at all the things involved in the cost of the tractor and us going to get it, and because it takes two people to go get it and bring it back and then two other people to take it back, we're in the neighborhood of $1,000, a little over $1,000 for each trip.
Each trailer per trip.
Per trip, per truck. So it gets pretty expensive quickly for those rentals. The other thing that goes with that is that I went back and looked. We spent almost $12,000 in the month of October. And we're kind of at the mercy of, that sounds like a lot for us, but September we had basically no rentals. And the reason for that, we were at the mercy of what happened with the economy and with the weather. The rentals that we were able to get in the past dried up in September. They rented everything out for recovery from the hurricane, so we couldn't get anything. We were having to double up and try to do what we could with the vehicles we had in the district. We were borrowing trucks from the warehouse and wherever we could get them to try to, instead of having one trailer, we may have 3 or 4 trucks going for one band.
Mr. Jones, let me just clarify. We are talking about, or I was talking or asking about the tractors that would be necessary to pull the new trailers. Is that what you're talking about as well? Those are the ones that would cost us $1,000 per game, per trip? Okay.
Right. And of course that cost goes up if we have a multiple day trip. A lot of times we'll have a football game on Friday and the band goes to a contest on Saturday. So that time is extended and the cost is going to go up. But yeah, $1,000 to $1,200 is going to be the minimum for just a football game to Victoria.
And how much more is that than what we're doing now?
Well, what we have now, we own the trucks and trailers. And I think what our plan is to buy trucks to match the trailers, and so that we'll have those, and we won't go through that expense. We'll have them, and we bill them just like we do for a bus rental, in the same way that we do the trucks now. We purchase the trucks, and then basically the bands or the groups that are using it pay for it through the rental fees that we charge back to them, which are not going to be as much as the
tractor. Do we know what it costs to purchase one tractor that pulls these trailers?
The one that we bought last year, I think, was right at $40,000, and I think that we stay in that $40,000 to $50,000 range per tractor. I think we're in good shape there.
And how long do these trailers or tractors last? I mean,
I don't think that we're going to wear them out.
Not going to wear them out. So they're going to be worth their weight.
Right. We look at buying used tractors. A new tractor would be $130,000 to $140,000, and they're designed to go 1,000,000 miles. The one that we already got was a 13, and it had about 400,000 miles on it, which sounds like a lot for somebody with a car, but these things are designed to go 1,000,000 miles. Once we get them, we'll probably be putting 10,000 to 15,000 miles a year on them. So we're not going to wear them out. We want to may upgrade it at some point later, but they'll do what we need to do. It's significantly less cost than buying new ones.
But at this time, we don't really have a plan to purchase tractors themselves. Right now, we're focusing on the trailer, correct? Is that the way that I understand it?
Well, once y'all approve the trailers to be purchased, then we'll make the plans and come back to you later this year with bids on trucks.
Okay, so the plan is to move forward to purchasing the truck so that we're not just constantly spending this money
Right.
for the rentals. Okay. I think my question next is for Mr. Estrada, sorry. One of the other concerns that I had, and I didn't see it listed in here, was how are we going to ensure equality between the 4 schools? I know that basically the way that I understood it last month was that you would purchase as requested, and now we've at least put a limit on the trailer for $85,000. But how do we as a board make sure that there's an equality across the 4 campuses that will get it?
Well,
if we're doing this at different times based on what's available in the budget.
We set a minimum spec, and it's in the agenda item.
Mm-hmm.
They would all have those items that are on there. They would all be road ready. They would all have a 23-foot second deck. They'd be identical.
Okay.
They would all have the retractable hydraulic lift, if that's the way we choose to go. The only difference would be just the exterior, and each campus would kind of design and plan, and we would have that done. But we would even have a kind of a baseline level of what we want our trailers to look like, so they're not all going to be oddballs in there.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to understand what we're really approving. Under the impact rationale, it says the trailers will be purchased with a price not to exceed $85,000 per trailer. But then when I went down, it says this price represents 4 trailers.
There'll be 4 trailers at that price. They would each be at that price.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
it doesn't specify. I'm seeing it's worded 2 different ways, because that sentence says with a price not to exceed $85,000 per trailer.
Per trailer.
Per trailer.
Okay.
But and I agree. I was confused at first too, Ms. Kaminsky. It should say not to exceed.
And the reason it's 4 trailers instead of 5 because George Ranch we've had one donated,
That's
and these be equivalent to that. They'll have a different wrap on the outside, but equipment-wise, it's going to be about as level as you can get it. One of the other things that we talked about the funding, and we also added in here that would come from 2011 bonds, so we don't have to worry about what funds are available on the campuses, where those budgets might be pinched one. So this will allow all the trailers to be bought, all of them to be put in, and
correct,
put it on that equitable basis.
And delivered by Labor Day.
And delivered by Labor.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to ask a simple mathematical. It's 4 times $85,000 is what
Yes.
we're approving.
Yes.
Yes.
Maximum of
Simple.
$85,000.
Maximum.
4 times 85.
Could be less.
It could be
That's
less.
340,000.
I'm doing the math in my head. I'm sorry.
Okay, I just wanted to know what the
Yes, ma'am.
total amount
Yes.
that we are approving
Why not
is.
ask, go ahead, sorry.
No, is the 340. Okay.
Why not ask for the trucks for the same time you're asking for the trailers? I mean, you have a trailer, you have no truck to pull it. Why not ask for all of it at the same time?
I can't answer that question. Mr. Jones will answer that for me.
This is a team project where the trucks will come out of the transportation budget. We have money to buy vehicles each year, and so the trucks will come out of transportation.
Mr. Jones, I have another question. Will those trucks be able to pull anything else, or are they limited to these trailers?
Well, they would be able to pull something else if we have
If you
another
needed it.
trailer, but right now the district doesn't have
Okay,
anything
I
like
see.
that
I got
Yeah.
that would fit.
you. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. The motion carries. Thank you. At this point in time, we'll move into the information items. Last month, it was requested that we put construction management on this agenda. Due to the time limitations between last month and this, we had 2 weeks out of Christmas time, and the amount of information need to be gathered. We don't have a final report, but that will be on the February board meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions on the board policies? The TASB advocacy agenda, you have a couple of handouts here, and the first meeting of that grassroots group at Region 4 is on February the 7th. Kay and I participated in that last year. It got to be rather entertaining. When we
Well, you ended up volunteering for more than...
volunteering for more, and I ended up in Austin, and that turned out to be interesting, where there was a slight rebellion against the way TASB rewrote the stuff, and so
But it's
it was
the beginning of how we kind of tell the lawmakers what we
Yes.
want. And if we don't tell them, they don't know.
And then TASB carries all that compiled information, and they take it to our legislators and try to have some impact there. Unless there are questions on anything else, we have the Holsworth Center update. We have a little presentation on that.
Good evening, everyone. We are excited to update you on our partnership with the Holsworth Center, and so we're going to jump right in. This is known as the Holsworth House. It's basically the framework of what we're trying to accomplish with the Holsworth Center, and you'll see at the top those 3 words, improved student outcomes. That's really the goal of what we're trying to do with the Holsworth Center, improve student outcomes. But of course, to get through all the pieces at the top, you have to start at the bottom. And so in year 1 with the Holsworth Center, we are working on our district-wide leadership culture. In terms of the leadership team, we've had some book studies and podcasts on things like growth versus fixed mindset and also radical candor. Right now, we are working on a shared, aligned definition of leadership, including competencies across all roles. So essentially, we're working on what effective leadership looks like in Lamar CISD. To help get to where we are right now, we had a steering committee of 22 members last semester that included principals, district administrators, and cabinet members, and we had several meetings to try to figure out what that leadership definition would look like. And out of that process, we came up with a passion for people, prepare for success, and drive for results. And so to help me explain these pieces a little bit better, I got some backup, and we're going to start with Dr. Fred Black and Passion for People.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, Mr. President, Steve Bergen, Dr. Randall, and the school board. Today I'll be presenting on the passion for people, and it is imperative as leaders that we have a passion for people and a passion for those that we lead. And when I think about having a passion for people and a definition of leadership, I think about servant leadership comes to mind. And when I think about servant leadership, I think about one particular person who is an exemplar of servant leadership, and that is Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. Martin Luther King is the epitome of having a passion for people. He had a passion for all people, had a passion for all of humankind, and committed his life's work to improving the living conditions of all of humanity. Dr. King was an effective communicator. Everyone knows his most famous speech, "I have a dream." Everyone knows his vision. Everyone knows his dream. The quote by Milton Erickson says, "The effectiveness of communication is not defined by the communication, but by the response." And once Dr. King spoke about his vision, the response was enormous. He was a great leader. He is arguably the most effective communicator of all time. He has his own holiday. Even the United States presidents have to share holidays. So that speaks to his effectiveness as a communicator. He believed in developing himself and others. Dr. King, he loved education. He graduated from high school when he was 15 years old. He attended Morehouse College. He studied theology at Crozier Seminary, and he earned a graduate degree at Boston University. And he believed in that everyone should be educated as well, have access to education. He believed that the function of education was to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Dr. King also was able to build trust with all that he led. And Michael Fullen's quote says, trustworthiness goes beyond integrity to include real competence as well. You have to be true to your word, but also very good at what you do. So in order for Dr. King to build trust with everyone, everyone had to believe that he was good at what he did. Dr. King traveled around the country encouraging people to follow him and to participate in protests and marches against injustice and walking to the face of all types of danger and knowing that their lives were in danger. So they had to trust that he was going to be able to lead them through that. One of my favorite sermons by Dr. King is the Draw Major's Instinct, and it's a sermon where he's speaking to his congregation, and he is calling for them to seek greatness through service. And this is the quote.
This morning, the thing that I like about it, by giving that definition of greatness, it means that everybody can be great. Because everybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve. You don't have to know about Plato and Aristotle to serve. You don't have to know Einstein's theory of relativity to serve. You don't have to know the second theory of thermodynamics in physics to serve. You only need a heart full of grace. Soul generated by love. And you can be that servant.
And I selected this particular portion of that sermon because when we were working on defining the leadership, coming up with the definition of leadership for the district, one thing that we talked about was trying to build 360-degree leaders and build leaders regardless of what position they held within the district, whether it was Dr. Randall as the superintendent, myself as a building principal, or a bus driver. We all have the ability to lead, and we all have the ability to be great because we all have the ability to serve. And that's one of the things that we want all of LCISD to be, as great servant leaders. So when I going back over the passion for people and the three characteristics of this particular pillar, as leaders in LCISD, we have to be able to communicate effectively. We have to be able to communicate our vision. We have to be able to continue to develop ourselves and grow as leaders and encourage others to lead. I know one of the big things about Holdsworth is identifying future leaders, and that's part of developing others. And we have to be able to build trust in those that we lead so that they feel comfortable with following us in the future. This time I'll turn it over to Chris Nielsen. He'll talk about prepare for success.
Thank you, Fred. So our second pillar of leadership in Lamar Consolidated ISD is to prepare for success. And I want to start this journey by showing you a picture of probably the most famous scientific instrument ever built. In fact, if you ask people to name a scientific instrument, most people couldn't name anything. But if you ask them to name a telescope, they could name the Hubble Space Telescope. And it's famous for a number of reasons. It's taken some of the most beautiful pictures of our universe that we've ever seen. This is NGC 1952, the Crab Nebula. One of the really most beautiful ones. You see this one printed on like the side of U-Haul trucks. It's how influential this telescope has been. This is Mystic Mountain. It's part of the Carina Nebula. This is the remnants of supernova 6302, the Butterfly Nebula. You can see why it got that name. The Hubble Space Telescope has revolutionized our understanding of the universe. 20 years ago, black holes were a theory. The Hubble Space Telescope proved their existence. 20 years ago, the only planets we knew about orbited our sun. Because of Hubble, we know of planets orbiting stars in other solar systems. Dark energy, dark matter, the size of our universe, the fact that instead of an estimated 10,000 galaxies, there's 100 million galaxies, is all Hubble. Now, inspired leadership that prepares for success, isn't comfortable stopping there. I mean, Hubble revolutionized our understanding of the universe, but the people who built Hubble weren't comfortable just putting those pictures on the wall. They're looking at what's next. And we want to do the same in Lamar. We don't want to stop where we're at. We want to look for what's next. And to do that, we have to prepare for that future success now. So I want to tell you what the astronomers at NASA have been up to for the last 20 years. They've been building this, the James Webb Space Telescope. For the past 20 years, the most expensive telescope in the world has been being constructed in Maryland. It's actually in Houston right now at the Johnson Space Center, completing its final assembly and testing in preparation for launch at the end of this year. And they thought big. They aimed high. If you look at a person standing next to Hubble's primary mirror, you can see it's a 2.4 meter mirror. The James Webb is huge. The James Webb at 6.5 meters has 30 times the light gathering capability and sensitivity of Hubble. And they didn't just think big or aim high about the size of the telescope, they aimed high with where they're going to put it. You can see that Hubble orbits at about 340 miles above the Earth. They put it there so we could go back and work on it often because we didn't have the confidence. Right about here is the farthest mankind has ever been, just past the moon. They decided to park James Webb 1 million miles away from the Earth because it was the right place to put it, not because it was the easiest place. It's scary to put it out there. We can't go back and work on it. We got to get it right the first time, but it's the right place to put it, and preparing for their future success meant looking for the right solutions. It has a different mission. Hubble takes amazing photographs. This is Pillars of Creation, probably its most famous photograph. The James Webb is an infrared telescope. It's designed to look through the dust clouds at the birth of stars. It's designed to look further into the past than we've ever looked before and farther into our universe. One of the most inspirational missions has 3 mission objectives: look further into the past, farther than ever before, look at the birth of stars, and then my favorite is its 3rd stated mission objective. This is a picture of Venus transiting in front of our sun. When planets pass in front of their star, you can look at the light passing through the atmosphere and measure what the atmosphere is made of. The James Webb is powerful enough to do that for planets orbiting distant stars. We will be able to test and measure for the presence of gases in the atmosphere that are indicative of biological processes or industrial processes. The James Webb is designed in our lifetime to find proof of life on planets in other solar systems. To do that, they had to prepare for success in the ways that we want to do here in Lamar. We want to aim high. We don't want to be comfortable with the status quo. We want where we aim to inspire innovative approaches. They designed the James Webb bigger than any rocket in our inventory could launch. And they had to innovate. How are we going to get this thing where we need to get it? We want to inspire that same level of innovation. It required a shared vision. I don't know if you know this. There's not a lot of money for scientific endeavors in our country right now. A group of astronomers gather every 10 years worldwide, and they have to agree, all their pet projects, what are the top 10 most important things that should be funded in astronomy for the next decade? They all had to agree on a shared vision that the James Webb was worthy of being funded, so they quit fighting over small pieces of the pie and do something big. We want a shared vision of our student success here in Lamar so we can do something big. We're going to aim high, we're going to inspire innovation, and we have a shared vision. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Jones.
And I have the pleasure of being the first person to present to the LCISD board wearing a bike helmet. So how fun is that? I was an obvious choice to do this last piece, the Drive for Results piece, because of my love and passion for the drive. I know the school board does not know me well, but I'm a little famous here in LCISD for my past experience on this guy. This is my Kimco 125cc scooter that was made for a 150-pound man, and this 220-pound man would use it to drive up and down FM 723, maxing out at 52 miles per hour, making lots of people really happy as they drove into work on 723. I love the speed. I have a passion for the drive. Unfortunately, I had to sell this a few years ago, so you're probably more used to seeing me driving one of these. I believe, Mr. Steenbergen, you may have built this bike for me, so I appreciate that in helping us out with that. So the drive for results hits three big items again. The first one here is accountability. Leaders in LCISD are not afraid to be held accountable, and we have an expectation of being held accountable, and we have an expectation of holding others as being accountable as well. We're not afraid to have those hard conversations with our colleagues, and we're not afraid to have those hard conversations had with ourselves. That we want to be held accountable and we want to address the items that need to be addressed. So we have an expectation of accountability in Lamar CISD. We're also very data-driven from a leadership perspective. We are constantly looking at the data and evaluating what we're seeing, whether this is student data. This could be information on computers, the number of computers and how they're being used. This could be about electricity usage. We're always looking at the data and we're using that data to design and influence our next steps. Data is the key element that guides us as we make decisions moving forward. So we're data-driven whenever we are moving for our drive for results. And the last one here is one that's been a huge emphasis in the district this year and will continue to be so, is having a growth mindset. We as leaders are continually looking at ourselves and trying to find ways that we can continue to grow and mature and educate ourselves, because we want to continually be learning and finding best practices to help our students be as successful as they possibly can be. So to have that, every leader in LCISD must have that growth mindset and that desire to continue to grow and learn. And that's the drive for results.
As you can see, we have various leaders in Lamar CISD, and we really enjoyed this process because whether it was the inspiration exhibited by Dr. Black through Dr. King, the innovation of NASA and Mr. Nilsson, or a little bit of humor with Dr. Jones, we reach people in Lamar CISD in different ways. So this is our initial draft Lamar CISD leadership definition. As they explained, a leader in Lamar CISD has a passion for people, they prepare for success, and they have a drive for results. We actually launched a survey yesterday to all employees in Lamar CISD to have them react to this, not only the three big categories, but those characteristics that make up each area. Do you love it? Are you okay with it? Do you not like it? And what is missing from this? So we're going to make sure we get this leadership definition right, not just from the steering committee, but from reaction from everyone in Lamar CISD. Next, we want this leadership definition to be clear. So we're working on a graphical representation. These are, of course, drafts at this moment. But when anybody looks at this, they want to look at it, and we want every employee to say what we've said in Lamar CISD. You have a passion for people, you prepare for success, and you have a drive for results. And so we're working on how we can really make that clear in a graphical format. You might say, well, it's a really good, broad leadership definition. The goal is to next clarify through job-specific competencies what that looks like. So when you look at passion for people and effective communication, that looks different in a classroom versus in transportation. And so when we have our broad leadership definition fleshed out, we'll then have clarity around what that means for each individual role inside Lamar CISD. And we've told, of course, our principals and directors to not create those, but to start thinking about those so we can get some feedback back from the survey here in the coming weeks. So that's where we are right now. We want to finalize the leadership definition of Lamar CISD. Every good organization knows what great leadership looks like. They see it, and they can define it. And so when we get that done, we'll be really excited to move up that Holdsworth House framework on to the next step. So we have all four of us here if you have any questions, and we're happy to answer those.
That's quite a razzle-dazzle presentation. Yes. Appreciate it. Well done. Well done.
Well done.
All right, thank you so much. This time we're going to move into closed session. We're going to adjourn to closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 55.082 of the Open Meetings Act. And the time is 8:03. (9:43). Do we have a motion from our closed session meeting?
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Trustees approve the proposed addendum to the superintendent's contract and extend the superintendent's contract for 1 additional year.
Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Discussion?
Mr. President, I would like to make a statement. Dr. Randall, you have been stable in our community, and I appreciate the years of service that you've dedicated to LCISD. However, I don't believe that your style of leadership aligns with the strategic plan or the necessary changes we need to make. After 17 years of the same leadership, a new set of eyes, ideas, qualifications, and experience is critical to effectively and efficiently leading LCISD into the next 10 years. So I apologize in advance for how I will vote.
Any other comments, questions? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Thank you. The motion passes. Let's see if we have any other business to bring before this board. Any future meetings? We need future agenda items. If not, I call this meeting adjourned at 9:44.